Hey folks, Jim Leila here for episode 199. Nice. That's right, 1 week away from the big 200.
Yes.
I still don't know what we're gonna do, but we're probably gonna have some old friends stop by. We're probably gonna have a couple people show up anyway. So join us next week. It's gonna be a memorable experience, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like 5 years later. It's really weird.
Yeah.
I went back and watched the first episode, and
As did I.
Wow.
Yeah, I was so much skinnier then.
I pretty much look the same. Different glasses.
A little shorter hair.
A little shorter hair now.
Oh, and a wedding ring.
Yeah, but pretty much the same.
And I'm still single. Anyway, let's get to some comic book reviews, shall we?
Alright, so the big one from Marvel this week, and, well, at least a new #1, is SpiderMan. This is a 5-issue series by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. So, while patrolling the city as usual, Peter spots a strange light emanating from an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. Upon investigating, he comes face to face with a familiar foe and soon finds himself in a strange place. So the Marvel Universe and the Ultimate Universe are colliding for the first time here in this miniseries, and I kind of liked it. I thought I was going to hate it. I was like, how are they going to put Miles and Peter in the same book? But mostly I'm excited for, like, the future after this story. Like, will Peter and Miles, like, remember all the things that happened?
Especially with how Peter kind of died.
Yeah, exactly. How will that affect Peter, knowing that, you know, in at least one universe he died and, you know, someone else picked up his mantle? Will that mean, like, he might consider not being Spider-Man for a while, figuring that someone else could do this and maybe he could have a different life? You know, it's just good. All the possibilities for writing are just awesome. So, you know, I really enjoyed this. I thought the art and story were really well done. And again, I like the idea of the two of them meeting. Who knows in the end how much it's going to alter anything, but if it does, then I'm very excited.
Alright, next up we have Steamcraft #1. And in this one, while investigating the sinking of the Thorpe, Sir Breachfort retells the tale of the underworld horrors he and his crew witnessed those long past years, and that even the most horrifying events cannot be stopped. So, okay, this is written and drawn by David Hutchison, and dear Lord, this book is absolutely gorgeous to look at.
Yeah?
This is probably the best work I've ever seen from David, and I've seen him from his very start of his career, almost 12, 13 years ago, and wow, the evolution is amazing. I'm really looking forward to his Dragon Arm series coming a little later this year, but absolutely, if you're a steampunk fan or a Lovecraft fan, you must go out and get this book. It is absolutely gorgeous. Really interesting story, really interesting art, simply gorgeous. As I said, if you want to check out a really good steampunk style book with a Lovecraftian feel, get this book. It is simply great.
Okay, next up, you all know how much I love the Batman Arkham City franchise. So, you know...
Have you finished the game yet?
I finished the game multiple times.
Okay.
But anyways, it has a lot of playability, replayability. It's good. So anyways, so this is Batman Arkham Unhinged #3. This is based on the video game, but it expands upon the universe and the characters, and you sort of get more lead up to what happens in the game. In this issue, we learn more about the Penguin, the Iceberg Lounge, and his battle with the Joker, which is pretty awesome. I'm really enjoying this series because it's got great art and story. If you're a fan of the game, you should enjoy this. If you're not familiar with the game story, I think that you could still enjoy this as a series about, you know, familiar Batman foes and stuff. Just some of the nuances of it are kind of lost. But for fans of the series, it's just really cool to see sort of the backstory for how some of these characters got to where they are. It's just really neat. So if you like Batman Arkham City, you want to check out Arkham Unhinged.
Alright, next up we have the Four Watchmen Silk Spectre #1. In this one, young Laurie has not had an easy life, being groomed to become the next Silk Spectre, a fact that she doesn't please her in the slightest.
Yeah.
So she and her boyfriend hit the road toward San Francisco to start a new life.
Huh, neat.
Alright, so this is the second in the Before Watchmen series that has been going on for
Minutemen was last week. We were doing that. Check it
out. Which is absolutely gorgeously done. Amanda Connor's art here is simply wonderful. There's some really nice embellished art as well that really works here. and Darwin Cook's story is fantastic. But there's still the little enigma overshadowing this book. And the fact is...
Why do we need them?
Why do we need them? Not that there's a bad book. It's really great. It's beautifully done. It works really well. You learn about the character, and that's a great thing. Mm-hmm. But it's got that really bad enigma just hovering over it all the time. And that's where this book kind of suffers for me.
Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff.
Watchmen was perfect on its own. It really doesn't need to have this kind of stuff. But I quite enjoyed this.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the Watchmen, and there is no more Watchmen stuff, there's just the Watchmen. This is more of that world.
Yeah, and you get to learn how Laurie became Silk Spectre and who she was beforehand.
Yeah.
And a bit with her mother and such like that. But overall, I mean... I don't see a point to there being more Watchmen when Watchmen pretty much got it perfect the first time. Yeah. But if you are a Watchmen fan, then you're going to really enjoy this.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
And as I said, I enjoyed it. It's got beautiful art by Connor and a really great story by Darwin Cook. So really, if you are a Watchmen fan, you can't go wrong. So honestly, if you're a Watchmen fan, pick it up. If not, then just ignore it and keep with the Watchmen.
I think a lot of these creators on these are like fans of the source material, which has made it good.
It really stands out that they are fans, and they are treating it with as much respect as they possibly can, and I see that in every page.
Yeah.
I just don't see the point to actually doing the series.
Yeah.
But I can respect what they're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so next up, we've got The Massive, #1. So in this one, Callum Israel is the captain of a ship called the Capital, and he's also the leader of Ninth Wave Oceanic Activist Group. Now, this is set in a post-apocalyptic world. Nothing is certain, and ideologies seem sort of meaningless, because everybody's just trying to survive. All that remains is their current mission to search the broken world for the cause of the crash, and keep searching for their missing sister ship, the Massive. So I liked this. I actually really did. This is a great follow-up for fans of DMZ. You'll see that it's also Brian Wood. Yeah. It's a great job. He's created a really interesting world with engaging characters, like, right away. And, while the art isn't my favorite, I see how it kind of works for this book. The style and the coloring does add to the tone. It's just not my favorite style overall. So if you're a fan of DMZ, and you want to know, what Brian Wood is doing next, and you like that whole post-apocalyptic thing, then this is the book to read. And it just started this week, and you know how long DMZ went, and how awesome it really was. It has a good following.
Really good writing.
So if you want to jump in at the ground level, make sure you grab this week. I really enjoyed it.
All right. And next up for me is Planetoid #1. And in this one, Silas, an ex-soldier turned space pirate, gets stranded on a mysterious planet in alien territory and must rely on his resourcefulness and bare-bones survival tactics in order to stay alive on a planet where escape is impossible. Ooh. So, yeah. Very, very interesting story here.
Yeah.
Ken Garing is a talent to look out for, I will say that. The art is simply gorgeous in this.
Really?
But I honestly think this possibly would have worked better as a grayscale comic instead of full color.
Yeah.
I mean, we took a look at it a little earlier and kind of agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I can see what they're trying to accomplish with the
I can see
the metal, the rust look.
And I really like that look.
Yeah.
I just think it probably would have looked a lot better in black and white with grayscale.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. People will disagree with me. That's fine. Mm-hmm. That's just my opinion. But overall, it's a fantastic story with a really interesting protagonist.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the art is spectacular.
Yes.
So, yeah, you got a really good story. You got a really good protagonist. So, yeah, this has everything going for it and nothing going against it other than, well, the colors.
Yeah.
But
you can get past it.
I got past it. I mean, I'm fine with it being in color. I just think it would have worked better in grayscale. But that's just me.
Yeah.
So, honestly, check this book out. It is simply gorgeous and a lot of fun. Alright, so...
some news!
Before we get to episode 200 next week, some news has come in. Let's start off with the DC cancellations and new series.
Yes, DC has canceled 4 more titles.
That's, what, 12 now?
I don't know, or 10 or so. I don't know. Every time they cancel something, they replace something. And it's also important to note that a lot of the canceled titles, those characters are appearing in other titles. So you can still follow that character, just in a different setting. So the new cancellations are going to be Voodoo, Captain Atom, Resurrection Man, and Justice League International.
I'm really kind of sad about Resurrection Man, because that series was really well done.
And on the Vertigo side of things, they've also let it go Dominic Laveau, Voodoo Child. Which, not surprising, really. I checked out the first issue, and I didn't really dig it.
It was okay. It just didn't really stand out on the show.
Not really. So, but I can't say that this is all that surprising. I mean, and there's other titles, if you look at the sales levels, that, could have just as easily gone. But what's interesting is the new ones that they're going to replace these with. So one of them's called Sword of Sorcery, which is basically the Amethyst book.
Which a lot of people are looking forward to seeing.
Is it written by the same writer who did, was it Gem and the...
Apparently it's written by the same creator who did Gem and the Holograms.
Who knew?
So apparently Amethyst is truly outrageous.
I don't know. So, another one of the titles is called Talon, and it sort of spins out of the Night of the Owls thing that happened in Batman, so that's going to be pretty interesting. And there's a Phantom Stranger book that's coming. And then there's a Team 7 book that's basically going to be like based off of an anti-Superman group, which is kind of interesting.
Which I also believe that Team 7 was a book from Wildstorm quite a few years back. Which of course had nothing to do with Superman back then, but since the Wildstorm universe and the DC universe are now one and the same, it should be an interesting aspect.
Yes, exactly. And speaking of Superman... I don't know if anybody's seen the pics from the Man of Steel costume and stuff that's up. Yeah,
kind of odd
I don't know. I am not surprised that they're going with the DC 52 no briefs look. That's probably a good idea, I would guess. I don't know. The costume for Jor-El looks okay.
It's just to keep the lawyers off their ass.
Who knows?
I think.
Who knows? It's cool enough, although the cape looks really weird.
The cape looks like a curtain, for God's sakes. It's like, I don't have anything for a cape. That curtain will do.
Maybe they did a lot of tests on how things look in the flight, and maybe that's why they came up with this. I don't know. But
so they used a velvet curtain?
Or drape, I don't know. It looks kind of weird in the picture. Maybe the picture doesn't do it very much justice, but we'll see.
Alright, so next up in news, apparently Disney has gotten the live-action rights to one of your favorite books, Stuff of Legend.
Yes!
Now, the film is going to be directed by Pete Candyland, or Candyland, who directed the Gorillaz music video Stylo. And the script is going to be by Sean Christensen, who did the terrible, terrible film Abduction.
But he's got source material to work from here.
He's got source material to work from, and apparently it's a passion project for them both, and they both like the source material, so hopefully they'll treat it with a lot of respect, because damn, that series deserves all the respect it gets.
I'm a little worried about it being like live action / CG, because...
personally, I think it would have worked better with Henson doing
maybe
like animatronics or
just go completely animated. I don't know.
I think it would be perfect for a Pixar film.
But I mean, especially because the art in the series is so awesome, and I'm afraid that they're going to lose some of the tone that the art creates in the book.
I mean, the book is pretty dark at points. So I don't think you can do this as a general kids film.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it is kind of scary. I mean, we're talking about a kid being kidnapped by the boogeyman. And his toys having to go into the dark to save him. So, I mean, it's... I mean, yes, it could be a kid's film as far as we're not going to have to show blood and guts and everything. But, it's definitely,
It's up there with what it shows. But I honestly think it would make a great film as long as it's treated with respect.
Yes.
So let's get into another film that we both saw last week. Prometheus.
Yay!
Now, there's a lot of love and hate for this film.
Yes, generally Jim and I were more towards the love side.
I quite enjoyed the film. It answered all the questions I had about about who the space jockeys were and stuff like that from Alien. Mm-hmm. We learn how the alien species comes to be.
Yes. At least somewhat. I mean, they're not all the way to what you see in Alien. But
it's at least 2 or 3 parts away.
Yeah.
But me and Leila do agree that Charlize Theron was underused in this a little.
I really don't know what her role in the movie was, and I can only hope that it's because this is maybe part of a trilogy, and I know what you're going to say for people who have seen the film. We're not going to wreck anything. I know what you're going to say, but I still think that there could be a role for her in the future. And the only thing that I had a question about is, like, without saying too much about the film, is, like, if the goal was to get a certain person to a certain place, I don't understand why they messed with the whole weaponry of it all. That's the only hole that I saw, but other than that, I really enjoyed the film. I had, and I liked, like, the early versions of the facehugger and the early version of the alien. I thought that was cool. Yeah. I was down with all of that. Also, like, this wasn't as much of a horror film. No, it was a very dramatic film. I thought it was very dramatic. Yeah. But then again, movie. I also think the original Alien was more a drama than a horror. It was more like Aliens took that whole other jump, right? Which was an action film, which was much more action horror. Yeah. And I think that if you can go into this movie looking at it like a drama, you might come out in a better place. And I really don't think you need to see any of the Alien films before you jump surprisingly
into this.
You don't.
No, but if you do have questions, it will at least answer the questions that you may have had. If you pay attention to the movie. It's not one of those ones where you can walk in and shut off your brain. Yeah, you really need to be using your head because everything that you want answered will get answered if you pay attention. For a reason. Yeah. Like, for a reason. So pay attention, goddammit. Pay attention. You know, I liked it. I mean, but we'd love to hear your view. I've heard a lot of people complaining about this film that it doesn't explain anything. It does if you pay attention. Yeah. Everything is basically told to you flat out. Yeah. It's very interesting, and I've seen some post interviews, like pre and post interviews with Ridley and another thing that I really enjoyed about this film was the use of sets and the use of models. Yeah, it's so cool. Rare to see that stuff nowadays. Yeah, it added something to it. Really added to the film and made it that much more magical. Yeah, I thought so. For me, that was great because you don't see that enough in film anymore. I come from I come from like the Stan Winston, Harryhausen. As do I. School. And that's what I want to see that stuff. And I want to see more of that. Yeah. More of that. Yeah. I would love to see more of that, but Hollywood, they're going to be like, let's CG the shit out of this thing. Yeah, this is why I'm worried for Stuff of Legend a little bit. Yeah, I'm a bit worried, but as long as they treat it with respect, I'm all for it. But honestly, if you want a good sci-fi drama, go see Prometheus. You won't regret it, and you don't really need to see Alien or Aliens to really get what's going on. I don't think so. In fact, it might put you in a wrong frame of mind. Yeah, I honestly do think that it would. But I love the Lawrence of Arabia stuff that's in the film. That's cool. I love the character of David that's in the film. Yeah. I mean, because Michael Fassbender is amazing. Yeah. Amazing stuff. Yeah. It's not a perfect film. It's far from perfect. Mm-hmm. It does leave you with a few more questions at the end. But I think that's on purpose. But it is on purpose. Most definitely on purpose. But overall, it's a great film that really people should go see. Yeah. If you're looking for a great sci-fi film to go see, this is the one to go see. Yeah. I can't really undermine that. It was almost perfect. Almost. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, coming from his last few films, Ridley Scott really needed a good film under his belt again. Yeah, I mean, I've never really disliked anything he's done. In fact, some of my... Robin Hood. Well, yeah, that. But that's because it just wasn't Robin Hood. So it's much like going to see Halle Berry's Catwoman and expecting to see Catwoman. Less said about Catwoman, the better. So... Anyway, we are heading off. We will see you next week for episode 200. See you later, everyone.